Where did you last work remotely? Not when, but where? Was it on the kitchen table? Maybe it was on your sofa, your lounge. Maybe it was on a train, maybe even a cafe, or perhaps on a client site. Or if you're lucky, of course, maybe it was on a beach somewhere exotic. But here's the real question. While you were working in those locations, how safe was your data? Because here's the truth. Working remotely is, of course, very powerful. It gives us freedom, it gives us flexibility, but without the right security, it also exposes us and our business to additional security risks. I remember I was at a conference once and I asked the audience, raise your hands if you've ever lost a laptop, a phone, or a tablet, or had one stolen. Almost every single hand went up. One man even told us about this particular time when he went on client site. He was there for a very long day. He'd traveled all day. He'd been working on the train. And when he got home at night, he knew he had another long day ahead of him the very next day. So he just got out of the car, left his laptop behind the car seat, and just went inside, got ready for bed, went to bed, all ready to get up the next morning to go to his next client appointment. And yes, you guessed it. The next morning, Windows smashed, laptop gone. And obviously, that was a massive disruption to him and his business. But think about it. The real risk here when we lose something like that isn't the laptop itself, it's actually the data upon it. And that loss of data, of course, that's a disruption to his business. It was obviously it could have potentially impacted his clients and was a massive inconvenience for him and his life. And this is exactly why we have this Annex A control 6.7 on remote working. Now, the standard is pretty clear what it expects, and it states that security measures shall be implemented when personnel are working remotely to protect information accessed, processed, or stored outside the organization's premises. So what does it actually mean in practice? What will the auditor be looking for when they come along and audit your organization against this particular control? Well, they're going to ask you, first of all, do you do any remote working? And typically people's minds instantly go to, does that mean, do we have any people working from home? And yes, of course, that is a major consideration and a key consideration for the auditor. But of course, as I've just explained, remote working isn't just about working from home. It's about where people might work anywhere. So the auditor is going to be looking for a range of controls. And these controls will include perhaps remote working and acceptable use policies. So it might talk about acceptable use of your laptops and devices, about not leaving them unattended in public spaces, like in a cafe or on a table when you on a train when you go to the buffet cart. The remote working policy as well might be that whilst you are working on a client site or away from office premises, that you ensure you lock your screen when that machine is left unattended. The auditor is also going to ask you about things like access controls. They're going to ask you about cryptographic controls. Is the device encrypted? They'll want to know about VPNs, virtual private networks, malware protection. They may even look for evidence, or they may ask you for things like privacy screens. If you have people who are traveling quite a bit, then for a very small, modest amount, you can get these privacy screens that ensure that when they're working on that device, no one can shoulder surf, no one can look over their shoulder, see what information that they're entering onto their device. Keeps their information private. They're definitely going to want to look for any evidence of training and awareness around this particular topic. And that is something that you should ensure that is in place, especially for those workers who are hybrid. So work in the office and work from home, but also those people who are on the road. So typically salespeople or client-facing people who are going to be on trains, planes, and automobiles, they need specific training. And whilst you may say, but Gary, this is all obvious things. People should use their common sense. I agree. But unfortunately, we do need to remind people what our expectations are. As I talked about in that earlier example, that particular individual was a highly respected, highly intelligent individual, but they were tired. And a simple reminder to that person might have just prompted them to take their device, their laptop, into the house, because for the want of a few seconds, it cost them days in disruption. Because here's the real deal. Working from home or anywhere outside your office isn't just convenience, it's a whole new battleground for data protection. Think about it. Your mobile phone, it's a mini computer. It holds emails, apps, files, maybe even client data. Lose it, and you don't just lose a device, you lose trust. Ever seen someone leave a laptop on a train seat while they nip to the buffet cart? Well, we see it all the time. It only takes one opportunist thief, one distraction, one lapse in judgment, and suddenly you've got a security incident on your hands. Because here's the real kicker. Remote working isn't home working, as I've said. It's anywhere. It is all of these places that I've already mentioned. And I've heard people talk about how they take their laptops on holiday with them because they still need to catch up with emails. And this is especially true for smaller organizations and solopreneurs who feel that they can never switch off. Well, maybe leave your device at home or in the office rather than taking it on holiday, because your holiday is a place where you relax. And when you relax, you're more likely to have maybe a drink or two, and maybe you're going to have a lapse of thinking and judgments, and therefore you may end up having a breach. Remote working is you're working remote from the organization. And every single one of those places, again, brings additional risks. So here's the real message I want to give to you. Remote working is here to stay. Love it or loathe it. I know some organizations don't like it, but that's because they fixate on this idea of having people working in the office and not at home. Remote working, as I've said on numerous occasions in this video, is not about just home working. It's about working anywhere that isn't your office premises. But let's be honest, this remote working absolutely is here to stay. It gives us freedom, flexibility, and opportunity, both for individuals and for the business. You can employ people from up and down the country, so people are going to be traveling if they're going to come to meetings and such like. But freedom, or with that freedom, comes a security risk, because freedom without security is just chaos. Annex A6.7 isn't about limiting remote working, it's about protecting it and protecting that facility. It facilitates the ability for you and your business to work remotely. Embrace it, but make sure you put systems and controls in place to ensure that data is still secure. I hope that's been helpful. Just remember that consultants like us, we help businesses achieve this in a really simple, very pragmatic way. For us, as I always say, compliance without complexity are our watchwords. So I hope that was helpful. If you did find it useful and interesting, please give it this a like, give it a share. I'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts. Maybe you do something differently around remote working and training and awareness around this particular topic. I'd love to hear more. Don't forget to hit that bell as well so you get notified of any future videos. I look forward to seeing you on the next video where we go into Annex A 6.8. Until then, stay well, stay safe, and stay secure. All the very best. Bye.